So how new is your newest book, your ideal retirement workbook?
I just was published in let's see, about I think it was in June or July,
Oh,
last
so
June or
it's okay, nice. Not even a year ago, huh?
no, yeah, it's very new, and it's based
Wow.
upon a video course that I have that's called Sail into Retirement,
Huh.
and a lot of my products are the things I create are nautically themed. And
Sure.
so the sail into retirement is basically the same information, but in video form. And it's me talking and giving videos and suggesting, and it takes you through different modules and the steps from, gee, I don't know what I'm going to do, all the way through to now you know what you're going to do.
Nice, all the way to finding that meaning fulfillment. That's fun that you said it's a lot of stuff is nautical themed because after what you were saying earlier, right? You had a successful 20 plus year career, CEO, sold your company in Silicon Valley, and then went and sailed the seas for what, 6 years, 7 years?
6 years, 6 years, yeah,
It's
yeah,
unbelievable,
it's
unbelievable.
yeah. And it was a great it was like a life-changing experience, you know. I mean,
Sure.
I came back I don't think the world changed, but I had changed. You
Of
know, I had
course.
changed and realized that the physical things perhaps that I was chasing before just weren't as important. You know, and real and all the people I met around the world, the ones who were the happiest were the ones with the least possessions. And yeah, it was a eye-opening life experience. I loved it.
I'm sure you did. That is a experience like none other. I don't think I've ever heard somebody tell me that they went from Silicon Valley's CEO to, as you said earlier, a sailing bum. And
Yes.
wow, and finding like actually true happiness and like learning that, like what you said, some of the happiest people in the world, some of the least, huh?
Yeah, that's right. Absolutely. Yeah.
Wow.
And there's a
Wow.
lot of people, I mean, there's a fair number of people who go out and go sailing, they go cruising.
Sure.
But very few people make it all the way around the world because it's very difficult. It's a big challenge. And I mean, from weather setbacks and engine, mechanical failures and people and crew issues and money issues and just it's a real challenge to get a boat all the way around the world.
I can believe it. I don't have much to
Yeah.
say other than that, Larry. That you are very unique in that you literally sailed around the world.
Yeah.
Um, I'm guessing did you spend 6 years? You were probably stopping places and spending time.
Yeah.
So was it 6 years for like the full trip essentially?
Well, I mean, it took 6 years to do, but yeah, you do stop because the weather forces you to stop.
Okay.
So, like when you're sailing from California and you go west across the Pacific, there's a 6 month sailing window, and
Oh,
then
interesting.
in the South Pacific, and then it turns hurricane season.
Huh,
And so you have to get out of that zone, and so you have to
sure.
sail south to New Zealand and you hang out in New Zealand until the hurricane season is past, then you
Sure.
can go back up into the South Pacific Islands, and then you can be there for 6 more months, and then you've got to get back out again. So you go back down to Australia, and then you go, and then we went up through Indonesia, and then into through uh, past Singapore into Thailand. We lived in Thailand for, well, let's see, in New Zealand, I think we were there for about 8 or 9 months,
Okay.
and in Australia about another 8 or 9 months, and
Nice.
then in Thailand for about 3 months, and then in let's see, what was the next place we spent a lot of time in? When I look up here, I'm looking at a world map, so I'm not
Are you
ignoring
okay?
it here.
Okay. No, of
But
course.
the next place we spent another 3 months was in Israel,
Okay.
uh, and that was pretty amazing as well. And then we spent a year in Turkey.
Wow.
Yeah,
Wow.
and
This the
then yeah.
Mediterranean that area was a big sort of goal for you that you really wanted to get to go through.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. And sailing in Turkey was great. And then we went across the Mediterranean and Sicily and lived a month in Barcelona, and then from Barcelona, we crossed the Atlantic to the Caribbean. Across the Caribbean, went to
Sure.
Colombia, then through the Panama Canal, and then you make your first right and head on back up to San Francisco.
Take your first right back
Yeah.
on to San Francisco. Wow, what a unique experience. And then you came back, right? Like life changed. You wrote your book. What was that book called? I just wrote it down here.
The boy behind the gate.
The Boy
Yeah.
Behind the Gate. And like
All
you
of my
started
books
a speaking
are
career
it
then.
all my books are easy to find if you go to my main website, which is larryjacobson.com,
Okay,
and
nice.
then you click on the author tab, then all the books are there. And they have the
Perfect.
direct links to Amazon and all that.
Perfect. Thank you.
So,
So, Larry, tell me a little bit about, well, first off, let me just say thank you for being a BizWorld volunteer. We appreciate
oh
it
yeah,
so much, right? That you're like one of the pitch coaches and like you've spent so much time really having a huge impact, especially on the young entrepreneurs in the Yes program. And so thank you for that. And like that's why I want to take the time to tell a little bit of your story and then feature you in our newsletter and on our YouTube and social medias and so thank
great.
you
Well,
from the entire
I love
team.
doing that. The kids are so they're great listeners. They respond well, and I think one of the most rewarding parts of coaching is when you have breakthroughs, when people listen, they show up with their ideas and their products and their pitch deck, and then I walk them through what the investors are really looking for.
Sure.
And so I even follow a document that I have on one of my websites. It's called Nine Keys to the Perfect Pitch.
Okay. The
And
nine keys to the perfect pitch.
yeah, and that's on the website of for my speaking coaching, which
Okay.
is called ownthestage.org.
Ownthestage.org.
Yeah. And I love speaking coaching. I mean, I love coaching people because I love the breakthroughs. I love helping people based on my experience. So I only coach on what I'm experienced in,
Sure.
and so
Sure.
I've done a fair number of presentations and speeches, and I've done two TED Talks, and so I think I have the qualifications, and I think every single, let's see, I don't know how many times I've coached, but everybody that I've coached has been either first or second in getting financing.
No
So
way. So every young entrepreneur in the Yes program that you've coached
yeah,
either came first or second in
yeah,
actually getting financing during demo day.
yeah,
Unbelievable. Oh, okay, so it's
yeah,
a lot of coaching. Like you tell me, speaking on stage, you just mentioned, of course, all your books are at LarryJacobson.com, and then you just mentioned ownthestage.org. Give
yeah.
me a little brief overview of what are you currently mostly focused on working on today, or not today, but yes, give me a little overview about what are you mostly working on.
Yeah. Well, actually, I'll tell you what I'm doing today. Today,
Okay.
besides this, is I was just hired for to give a speech in New York next week.
Oh, okay. Quick turnaround.
Yeah, and they just told me yesterday, and
Okay.
it's a speech about that they want someone to talk about leadership, about resilience, about facing challenges, about dealing with fear in business, and so I take my stories from my sailing journey
Sure.
and I apply them to their situation in business.
Sure.
Resilience. I mean, it's I can't tell you the number of times that I came this close to just throwing in the towel on the sailing trip around the world. I
Sure.
remember at one point I was in Singapore and we had some big breakdowns on the mechanical breakdowns, and I had phoned my mother actually, and my mother
Okay.
was a great motivator. Her name was Julia, and that's what the boat was named as well.
Beautiful.
And and she didn't want me to go in the first place, but once had left, she was very encouraging and supportive. And I called her and I said, Mom, I think I'm done. I don't think I can do this anymore. It's too hard. And she goes, Oh, no, you don't. She goes, You wanted this. You're halfway around the world. You're going to keep going until you get home. And,
Wow.
it was really motivating just to hear that from her. And so I kept going, and you just bounce back, and resilience is really important in both business and in your personal life. You fall down, and it's how you get up. It's important.
Absolutely. Absolutely. It's
Yeah,
interesting to hear you say that and it's so great that you named the boat after your mom, actually, and
yeah,
how motivational she was. But that, that you said that you bounce back, right? Because like when we face those struggles, it seems that like, we're in the darkest moment, like we can't go on. But it's
yeah.
almost like it kind of comes in waves, huh? Like if you realize, what, I'm just in sort of the bottom of this wave, but resilience, keep going and like you'll
Yeah.
bounce back, huh?
Well, and when you're at sea, you don't have any choice,
Sure.
right?
Wow.
So if you're, I mean, the worst storm we experienced was going up the Red Sea, and we were had been caught in this storm that had come a day early, and all these stories are in the book, so just to give people a taste of what it was like. But this one was had the wind came up to 60 knots, which is stronger than a gale. It's a almost to hurricane force, and the seas had built up to 30 feet. So if you picture a three-story house, that's how big the seas were. And we were in this for about 24 hours, and all I really wanted to do was go down below and crawl into a bunk and pull the covers up over my eyes, and
Sure,
just wish it
sure.
all away. But then, I looked over at my crew and they were scared out of their wits. Their eyes were as wide as saucers, and, as they're
Over your eyes. Sorry, I paused it. And then like, but you looked around at the crew and everybody was terrified, not knowing exactly what to do, of course. But
right.
please continue.
Yeah. And the seas were huge. I mean, 30-foot seas. We were just being slammed around like a cork in a bathtub.
Yeah,
And I realized that I had gotten us into this situation, and the crew was looking at me for strength and for motivation. And the last thing I needed was a crew frozen with fear. I
sure,
needed a
sure.
crew that could help me, that could, help keep the boat afloat and going. And so I realized, well, you're the captain, Larry. You better start acting like one. And so, yeah. So you take the situation, and there was no other choice. I mean,
Sure.
when no matter how afraid you are, there's only basically two choices. There's fight or flight, and there's no flights going out of the Red Sea that day. So yeah, you stay and you do what's necessary to keep the boat afloat,
Yeah.
and yeah, we made it through it.
Wow. And I'm so happy you did, that you can be here
Yeah,
today sharing the story with me and that you'll be in New York next week. Wow,
yeah.
sharing this story and some others as well. And is that through Own the Stage, or so that's wonderful, right? So you signed that speech for next week. But keep telling me a little bit more. What else are you working on?
Yeah. So, well, that's when an agency called me, and they are doing this event for their top 100 customers, I think, on a yacht in New York
Oh wow.
Harbor.
Oh
And
great.
so they liked the connection between me being a sailor and yeah. And that way, if the captain has a heart attack or something, and somebody says, "Hey, does anybody know how to drive a boat?" Then I can take over. And
Sure,
yeah.
yeah,
So
definitely.
I'm also working on a couple of new books, um, and trying to slow down a little bit. It's so funny that a few weeks ago, I had made a decision. I think I'm going to slow down a little bit and not search for as many clients and just ease up a little.
Sure.
As soon as said that, I got the call from the agency, and then I got another new client who called and wanted coaching, and so I don't think I'll ever actually retire because
Sure.
I love keeping busy and I love what I do.
Mm,
And like when I'm giving a talk, like with this talk next week, I know that out of 100 people, I may not connect with everybody,
sure.
but if I can instill a couple of things from my experience, my worldly experience, into them and let them gain from that, that makes me happy.
Yeah. Of
Yeah.
course. Of course.
Yeah.
No doubt
And I
about
have
it.
one of the books I'm working on now is over the years I've collected, or not collected, but I've made up a bunch of sayings. That I call, my friends call them Larryisms, but
Yes.
it's like wisdom sayings. And,
Sure, sure, sure.
there's a lot of books about, of that, of wisdom sayings, but these are mine. So I have about, I think, 250 of them or something so far. And, I was shooting for one per day, but I don't think I'll make that. But yeah, so I'm working on getting that out. Um, and that's just, a lot of people, like people who have wisdom or are leaders, we all say a lot of the same things,
Sure.
but we just change the words around,
Sure.
and that's okay. I mean, that's just it's the way I say things, and if that connects with somebody to help their life, then great.
Absolutely. Right. It's like even if the overarching message is the same, people relate and connect to things in different ways, right? And so
Exactly.
the way that you say it might connect and relate much better than the way that somebody else says something.
Yeah.
If I can pivot us a little bit, I'm curious, how did you first ever even get connected to BizWorld and to the S program?
Wow. Good question. Um, Let me think about that. Well, I didn't call them; they called me.
Uh,
So I think so. Gee, I don't know. I
it's
got
been a little
invited.
while.
It's been years. Yeah, I mean, I got invited to a live event in Oakland,
Okay.
uh, and
Was it the
and it was
Riskmaster
for
luncheon?
it was for a pitch coaching.
Okay.
I don't know how they found me,
Interesting.
um, but they found me. I think Melissa did, or someone, and they found me, and then
Okay.
yeah, and I liked it. I liked the idea of it and helping them
Nice.
out. And yeah, I mean, I could also be a business coach, for
Sure.
them. But I have so many other things going on that I can only take so much time.
Of course. Of course. So
Yeah,
you do like one workshop essentially per yes cohort where you're being a pitch coach, correct?
yeah, for one of the students. Yeah,
Okay,
yeah,
yes,
and
for
then
one.
I think that's been what, every twice a year, I think.
Yeah. Okay, nice. Twice a year. Um, love that. So I
Yeah.
want to tell a little bit more if you have a thought. I'm sorry, then please go
No,
ahead.
no, just go ahead.
Great. I'm curious about, of course, like you acted a mentor to these students. I'm curious how important the role of mentorship is. And so was there someone that mentored you earlier in your career? And if so, how did that experience, do you think that related to you now mentoring others? What are your
Hmm.
thoughts?
I think having a mentor is super important.
How is it?
And in some ways, well, where I was really looking for guidance was how do I get out and retire and then sail away? But I
Mhm.
didn't see any, but I didn't find anybody. I had nobody
Mhm.
to match, to give, who could share that experience with me. And I
Mhm.
never really met anybody who had just walked away from their life, basically,
Sure.
or sailed away, from their life. And so everything that I did at that point, I was creating on my own, and it was frightening,
Mm,
and
mm,
it was scary. And am I doing the right thing? And how do I do this? Is this, and there really were no rules and no guidance for me. So
sure.
that is, I think, a lot of where my coaching is now. I cut other people's dock lines for them.
Nice. You give them
You
the
know,
permission to go sail away.
Yeah, not just sailing. I mean, I get
Of course.
people who read The Boy Behind the Gate. I get emails from people from all over the world saying, "Larry, thank you. Because of your book, I had the motivation to dot dot dot." And I've had people write me saying that they started businesses, that they've gone sailing, that they got into a relationship, that they got out of relationships,
Oh,
um,
oh,
all kinds of things, just that I gave them the strength, basically. And that's what I was looking for, which I couldn't find. When I was in business, I had one mentor who gave me some guidance. Um, but I was in a unique industry, the incentive travel industry, and there weren't
mm,
many companies doing that. So again, it was something that was unique and something different. And so I was kind of guiding myself on that.
mm.
And with respect to the retirement coaching, I was one of the first ones, and I had a lot of people saying, "What are you doing? That's not even a niche. I mean, it doesn't even exist." And
Yeah,
I said,
yeah.
"Yeah, I know, I'm early,
Mm.
but um, in the United States alone, 10,000 people a day hit age 65
Wow, a day.
a day, and that's going to go on for about another, I think, 10 years or 8 years or something like that until the
Wow.
baby boomers are all retired."
Sure, sure.
So
So it's a
I know,
huge need is helping people
yeah,
understand that shift of their entire lives, being rooted in their careers to shifting and understanding how do I retire? Now, what do I do for the next 20 plus years?
right, exactly. Yeah, as I say, it's a long time to play golf.
It's a long time to play golf. But I mean, so Larry, it sounds almost like how you feel about mentorship, the importance of it is because there were times in your life when you wanted it, felt that you
Yeah,
needed it, but it wasn't there. You couldn't find it yourself, huh?
that's right. That's right. And I really, uh, and so I was forced to, I guess, go. I don't know if that it made me go slower. I don't think, but
Mm,
it just, I don't know. I've always been one who just because somebody hasn't done something,
mm.
that's okay. I'll try it.
Yeah, good. I mean, that's a gift. There's a lot of people that are afraid of something like that. And that's really
Yeah,
what the importance of mentorship is, right? Like you
yeah,
said, like you speak on your own experiences and then you relate them to others. And that is now giving them the strength and confidence and permission to take action instead of wandering into the unknown, right?
yeah.
And like, so
And
it's fortunate that you do.
how to present things. So like when these kids at the Yes program are presenting their ideas, and
Mm,
they might just start out by saying, "Well, here's my idea,"
sure.
and I'll twist that around for them and say, "That's boring."
Yeah. Sure.
I don't
Sure.
want to just hear your idea. I want to know why. What's the story behind this? And so then I
Sure.
teach them how to, in 30 seconds, tell a story,
Sure. Sure.
and tell the story of why you thought of this idea, what prompted it, and then what problem it's going to solve and who it's going to help. And then basically in that document, the 9 keys to the perfect pitch, those 9 keys are basically all of the questions that any investor is going to want answered.
Mm,
And so I tell the my mentees that when you follow this document and present your ideas this way, there won't be questions afterwards. And they'll say, because they're saying, well, what about, questions and answers? And I said, well, chances are there won't be any if you've done this properly.
wow.
So,
Wow.
yeah, and it's been working.
It's been working. I mean,
Yeah,
that sounds super rewarding to me, actually, that when you can see the clear transition from pitch number one of this is my idea of X,
yeah,
Y, and Z to how you said, like to effectively telling a story in 30 seconds of where the idea came from and why and who's it going to impact and the problem it's going to solve, and then answering these nine keys,
yeah. And
exact questions. Yeah.
the first story is 30 seconds, but I think they give them 3 minutes for the
Huh.
pitch.
Okay.
And I've lobbied for to extend that.
Okay.
I mean, I tell them every year. I said, "Come on, give them 5 minutes."
Uh,
I mean, what's it? 3 minutes, 5 minutes, and I have not been successful in getting them to change that. So therefore, I have had to adjust and keep them under the 3 minute mark, which
nice.
is a real challenge.
I can believe it. I can believe it.
Yeah.
Um, Blair, are there any particular moments or memories of like specific student interactions from BizWorld that stands out to you?
Well, I think I've been surprised actually by the quality of the participants. I
Really?
mean, I get these kids that are they're really smart and they've got good ideas and they're open to listening to on how to present them those
That's
ideas.
great.
So
Nice.
I think that's been the biggest wake up is that I kind of worry about the younger generations and, that, okay, we screwed up the earth, but now we're leaving it to you. Sorry about that.
Yeah.
Um, but I think that there's a lot of smart people, a lot of smart younger kids who hopefully will fix what we screwed up.
Nice. Hopefully can fix some of it. I'm sure we will all screw up our own unique things as well.
Yeah,
But that's
well,
great to hear that you've been pleasantly surprised by the quality
yeah.
of the young entrepreneurs in the Yes program, right? And
Yeah,
that
very much so.
they'll fix
And
things.
it's been rewarding. And I take great pride in, it's I mean, if a I feel that if a participant gets me that they're lucky because I take a lot of time with them. Like they say, all right, here's your opening hour that you get with them, and then you can schedule another hour with them. Well,
Yeah.
if the poor kid is lucky enough to be with me, they're going to be studying doing this for hours because
Yeah.
I'll schedule another one and then another one and say no, that's we need to redo this and we keep refining that presentation until it's right. And
Nice.
I don't stop until it is right.
That's great. That's great. Like you said, I think they're very fortunate whoever gets you as a mentor and as a coach.
Yeah,
They're
fortunate
extremely
and
fortunate.
extra work, but
Hey, it pays off. Clearly, it literally pays
yeah, literally
off,
pays
right?
off. Yeah,
Because I mean, they're pitching for
yeah,
actual investment. Um,
yeah.
let's see what other questions I had noted here. I mean, this is such interesting information, honestly. Let's see some more sort of generic things here. Is there a unique value that you can see or that you believe that the Yes program brings to young entrepreneurs?
Oh yeah. It throws them into the real world right away.
Nice.
I think that's the biggest value because everything is just kind of a theory or an idea until you actually put it out there and try to sell it to somebody.
Sure.
And then when you do, and then they like the idea and give you some support, well, then that thrusts you right into the business world.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
Sure.
And then I don't know that really want to. I wouldn't. It's like I don't focus on this, but I do worry sometimes that we're pushing kids too quickly into business.
Mm. Sure.
That is something that is. I'm not even sure I would conclude that, in your notes, but but I do kind of worry about that because kids need to be kids,
Sure.
and when you thrust them into business so young, into the competitive capitalist system,
Yeah,
and where everything is competition and driving hard and all that, that's not all there is to life.
absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely,
So
absolutely. And so, that's interesting point, right? And I'm gonna keep all this in because like your perspective is it's your perspective, right? It doesn't mean
yeah,
it's yes or no, right or wrong, any means. But you often worry that we're pushing kids too quickly into business. And through BizWorld, our programs start as young as like third graders, right? So they're very young. But what's
yeah,
interesting is that it's not thrusting, at least the hope is that it's not thrusting them into business like you have to be in business and be an entrepreneur, but it's almost using business and understanding the game of business to learn public speaking, to learn
right.
self-confidence and teamwork, and then of course like math and financial skills. And so
Yeah,
do
and
you
all of that
think,
is really important.
yeah, and then
I,
it's
I,
also like kind of a gamification. And so the piece that, kids need to be kids and like play and have fun, that's a big piece of this puzzle as well. Um, is the hope. And so, I mean, can you see how could you make that argument, or am I completely way off, right? That business could also be
totally.
fun for kids.
I can totally make that argument easily. I mean, you're right on with that.
Yeah,
It's just, and it's a limited number of kids that even want to do this kind of stuff. You know,
sure.
some of them don't. Some of them want to be,
So,
chemists or biologists
yeah, yeah.
or I don't know, musicians or, I mean, it's, I like that what it does is it drives creativity.
Drives creativity.
And that's really important. And
Extremely.
because I just am concerned about I get concerned about capitalism,
Mm,
even
yeah.
though I had my share of it and was successful, and I knew how to play the game, and I know how to play the game, and all that. I just think that that's not all that human life is about.
Of course. Yeah.
It's you know conscious capitalism, I think,
Mm,
is really important to maintain that idea. So that, if you're doing something that, doing something in business that it's going to help people, and it's
mm,
not just for profit, and the companies that are doing stuff just for profit now, it scares me that it's just so focused on that, and the system is becoming a bit lopsided.
yeah. Yeah.
Where those who have, they have, and those who don't have any,
Sure.
and don't have a chance to even to get a piece of it, of the pie.
Yeah, it's scary, honestly. I mean,
Yeah.
I don't know if I've ever heard this term that you just used, conscious capitalism.
Oh yeah.
That's very interesting because, like you said, like we need to be doing things to actually help, right? To make a positive impact on the world, not just for profit, right? Especially when you look
Right.
at and the amount of just like goods and I'm a pretty minimalist person, and so I don't have anything to like grab and point at, but like things that are just like, sold for no purpose of just like, oh, somebody will buy this because people want
Right.
to buy more stuff.
Right. Like
Um,
artificial, I call them artificial products. Um,
Artificial products.
and those could be, I'm not going to pick on any industries, but I can throw out, ones that are obvious, such as
Mm,
makeup.
sure.
I mean, makeup and colognes and all that.
Mm,
Um, I mean, that's not needed. We don't
sure.
need any of that.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's just for profit. It's just, people, and it's advertising telling people you need this.
Correct. That's literally
Well,
their
you
entire
really,
strategy, right? Because
yeah.
without
Like
convincing
I
them,
think I
you need
smell
this.
fine.
I mean, I can't smell you from here, Larry, but I'm pretty sure that you smell great.
Yeah, but I've
So,
been working on that idea on how to send smells through the computer.
okay. Good
but I
way.
haven't gotten anywhere with it.
I haven't gotten anywhere with it. Keep working on the idea.
Yeah, right.
Um, nice. Conscious capitalism, interesting. Larry, well, hey, I appreciate your time so much. Like again, like we all appreciate you being a volunteer and everything that you do. If I could ask, like, why or why would you encourage other professionals maybe to volunteer their time, just in general or specifically with BizWorld?
Yeah. Um, the the people who are successful in business figured out the game and took their piece of the pie.
Mm,
And it's important to remember that you got your piece of the pie because of the system, and you figured out how to play the game. It's important for the system to keep it circling, to keep giving back to that system. And if it's all just take, then it's not self-sustaining, and it doesn't keep itself afloat. You've got to give back.
it
That's
won't be
my stand.
self-sustaining. You have
Yeah.
to give back.
Yeah.
Love
And
that. It's
and,
not
and
all
if
just take, right? Or else the circle's gonna stop spinning.
it's going to stop. Yeah. And if everybody takes, it's like the importance of the middle class.
Mm,
Is critical to the success of the economy. But there are certain people at the top who don't realize that.
mm,
And they think that if they just take all the money and make all that money by themselves, then they'll be happy and fine. Well, guess what? If you manufacture television sets
mm.
and there's nobody left to buy those television sets,
Sure.
then guess what? Your company's going to collapse, and the middle class is going to collapse, and then it's going to, I mean, then
And the
we've
whole
all
thing
read books about
stops.
what happens then, right?
Yeah, there you go. Exactly.
Yeah.
Right.
So I'm just I've been to a lot of countries around the world.
Mm,
Um, on our trip, I think we traveled to 40 countries,
40.
and then before that, I'd been to maybe another dozen or so. And I've been to socialist countries and capitalist countries and poor countries and rich countries, and there's a lot more people in the middle
Yeah.
who are in need that people at the top need to take better care of.
Beautiful. Beautiful. Let's all make sure that we hear that message, right? That if we've been fortunate enough to, like what you said, right? If we figure out some of the game and some of business and we've taken our piece of the pie, we have to give back, right? Let's take
Yeah,
care of each
absolutely.
other so that the whole wheel keeps spinning up.
Yeah, that's right. Got to take care
Beautiful.
of each other.
Let's absolutely do so. Larry, thank you so much once again. As I mentioned to you, like we'll feature this on YouTube channel in our newsletter. What
Cool.
is I don't know if you're allowed or if it makes sense to talk about or to say what the speech is that you're giving. If anybody can go look at it, or I guess it's a private event, right? Is what you said. So it's not like we
On
should
that
promote it
one, it
necessarily.
might, yeah, this one is a private event, and it might be, I'm not sure if we're going to record it or not, but my speeches are, I have a fair number of them on my YouTube channel. And
Great.
then also my two TED Talks, which are both interesting, I think.
Yeah.
In fact, one was to a TEDx youth group.
Wow.
And so both of those are on my website,
Great.
just at larryjacobson.com/speaker. So you just go up to the top and there's a speaker tab, and you click on there and just scroll down. And there's also a 30-minute movie on my website about the sailing trip. That's free to
Wow.
watch. Yeah, so you just feel free to check that out. And there's also a children's book, which you can see over my shoulder, called Let's Go.
Let's
And
go.
that's it's for 8 to 12-year-olds, like a middle grade reader. And that's the story of the sailing ship around the world, minus some of the you know, minus some of the stories, right?
Minus some of the stories. Minus some of the
Yeah,
stories. I hear you loud and clear. Larry, well,
yeah,
I appreciate it so much, right? LarryJacobson.com. I know you earlier mentioned ownthestage.org.
yeah.
We'll go check out your TED Talks, go check out this movie, and man, all of your books as well. Like awesome. Thanks again. for being a volunteer, and like you're going to help us, just keep spreading
It's
knowledge,
my pleasure.
keep
Yeah.
making the world a better
Well, I think
place.